Alright, so in this video, we're going to take a look at some of the other input types that are available to us in HTML. Alright, so this button type is kind of similar to the button element itself, okay? It's a button that has no default behavior, so again, you can hook into this with some JavaScript and listen to the click event, and then perform some custom logic that you write in your JavaScript code. So you can look at that one if you want. We're going to skip over there. We're going to move on from there though and look at the checkbox type now. All right, so let's go back over to our code that we have here. Let's clean it up a bit. Let's get rid of the button here that we have left over from outside of the form from the last video. I'm going to get rid of the button that is inside of our form as well, and I'm going to go back to just our input type submit here. Okay, let's refresh our page here. Okay, we're back in business. So I'm thinking as an example of a checkbox here is in between the password control here, the password input field, and our submit input, we should have a checkbox that you have to check to agree to terms of service, for example. So after our password here, let's go ahead and add an input. We'll say type equals checkbox. Okay, the name we'll give it is, let's say terms. Okay, we'll also give it an ID for terms. Okay, let's close that tag off, and let's just save this here first, and let's go refresh our page and see what we see. Okay, so we see a checkbox. We can check it, but we have no idea what it's for, so let's go fix that now. So after our input here, I'm going to add a label element. Okay, we'll say for terms. Okay, I'll close that off and say agree to the terms of service. Alright, let's save that. Let's go back to our page and refresh now. Okay, and there we are. We see our message. I agree to the terms of service. Okay, but our button is on that same line. Let's go ahead and fix that. So we'll simply fix that by putting a BR tag right here for the line break. We'll refresh one more time, and there we go. Now we can click on the label, and that will check the box and uncheck the box as well. Now put the label after the input here, because I think this is what most people tend to do. The checkbox is first, and then what it's for after that. It looks a little funny if you put it before. I'll show you now. I'll move it above, and now we see that the label text is first, and then the checkbox. It looks a little odd to me, so typically, and I think most people will put it after. Let's refresh and put it back. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's go to our network tab here. Let's fill out our form here, and let's see what gets submitted over once we do this and we have our checkbox checked now. So we'll agree to terms of service. We'll click sign up, and now let's look at our network request here. Okay. So you can see now terms comes over and it's got the on value that came over with it. Okay, so this indicates to us that a user did check the checkbox. If we fill out all the other fields and don't check the checkbox, let's clear out our network tab here and submit the form. We can look through and see here that nothing is sent over. Okay, so if they don't check the checkbox, no information about the checkbox or related to the checkbox input gets sent over. Okay, and we can see here if we omit the value attribute, the default value for the checkbox is that on value that we're seeing when it's submitted over. When it's checked. Okay, now if you ever need to make a checkbox checked by default, you can add the checked attribute. And much like that form no validate attribute we had, it's a Boolean attribute, and so you can just put checked here. So if we say checked and we refresh our page here, you can see when we refresh, it is checked by default. Okay, now it's probably not something you want to actually do on something like this. You probably want to actually get the user to go ahead and click to accept the terms of service. So we'll go ahead and remove it and refresh our page here and see that is no longer checked. All right, the next input type we're going to look at is the radio button. Okay, so back in our code here, let's say, or actually back on our page, let's say before the I agree to the terms of service checkbox and after the password here, let's say we wanted to have the person signing up select what zodiac sign they are. Okay, now you can only be one zodiac sign, right? So a user should only be able to check one of the radio buttons, and that's exactly what radio buttons are for. You can present, you know, a list of many options, but then allow the person to only select one and never more than one. So let's look at putting some radio buttons on our page right here now. All right, so after password here, I'm going to put an input, and that will be a type of radio. Okay, let's go over here and grab this Aquarius text here. Okay, and then back over here, we'll give this radio input an ID of Aquarius. I'm going to make this lowercase actually. Value will also be Aquarius. Now the important bit here is that radio buttons, they need to all have the same name attribute value. Okay, that's how they work to only allow one to come through. Okay, so for name, we can just put sign, Okay, so let's close our input off there, and then on the next line, let's add a label element, and then we'll say label 4, and then that will be, again, Aquarius. We'll lowercase this so that the 4 value here matches the ID right here. Okay, and then inside the tag here, we can say, or inside the element, we can say Aquarius. All right, and let's just write 3 of these so we don't have to go through the whole list. I'm just going to copy these down here twice. So here's our 3 radio buttons here. We'll do different signs here. So let's grab the next one. Let's say Pisces. Okay, grab this. Come back over here. And in here, we'll replace this Pisces. We'll do the same here. And then right here as well. And then we will change the text here to Pisces. We'll capitalize the P. And what's next here? Aries. Okay, grab that. Okay, we'll do Aries there. Aries there. Aries right here. Aries capitalized. Okay, now everything should be matched up here. Let's go to our page here. Let's refresh. And let's add a line break after this. So we'll do BR right there. Let's save that. Let's refresh again. So now we can see our radio buttons here on the page. Now if we click one, click Aries. If we try to click Pisces, we can see it unchecks the Aquarius one, so we can only select one of these at a time. So let's fill out our form, see what it looks like coming through. We'll add everything in here. Password, we'll leave it on Aries. We agree to terms of service. We'll clear out our network tab here. Let's click sign up. Let's look at the request that was sent over. And in that request data that was sent over here, here's all the information. Sign came through as Aries. Okay. Now the radio buttons also have the checked attribute available to them, so you can check one by default if you want. Also, they have this required attribute here. So if you have this on any of the radio buttons in the same named group, that means one of the radio buttons in that group needs to be checked. It doesn't necessarily have to be the one that has that attribute applied to it. So if we go back to our code here, since all of these 3 radio buttons that we have here have the same name to them, if I was to come right here and add the required attribute right here, okay, if we save that, let's go back to our page and refresh. We're to enter in some information, and then password. Let's skip selecting one of these radio buttons, but then do the agree to sign, agree to the terms of service. If we try to click sign up, we see that we get this validation popping up that we have to select one of these options. Okay, so that's pretty handy. One other one I want to look at real quick is the date type. Okay, so let's say on our page here, they can select, one of their signs, but then maybe we also want them to be able to supply their actual birth date. So we can come right here and we can add our label tag right here. So we say label 4, and then let's just say DOB for date of birth. Okay, and then we can say date of birth right here as the text for that. And then we can come behind there and say input, and this type will be date. Okay, the ID will be DOB, again for date of birth, and then name, we can also do DOB if we want. And then let's close that input tag off. Let's add a line break because I'm sure we're going to need it anyways. So we'll save that. Let's go back to our page and refresh. Okay, now we see the date of birth field input control here, and if we click into it, we get this little handy calendar drop down. We can select all this stuff here, so that's nice. We can easily pick something here. Let's just select something. We'll fill out our form. We'll select one of these. We'll agree. Let's clear out our network tab there. Let's click sign up. And then let's check it out. So in the request data that was sent over, we can see the DOB, the date of birth, comes through right there as that date string. So those are some pretty handy ones. If you need to add times to your dates, you can use the datetime local type there. Again, we saw the email type, there's file type for uploading files. There's a hidden type. You'll see this one used in Rails. So when we start getting into Rails, make sure when you're writing forms, inspect the markup in the browser and see what you see. I guarantee you, you'll see a hidden field in there. Image type, so you can do a graphical submit button. Number fields, you can easily have these nice little up and down arrows to get to numbers, or you can type something in there. Okay, password field we saw, radio button we saw. Range is nice for making sliders. Okay, you can set the min and max values for the sliders, and there's also a step attribute, so you can say if you wanted to go from 0 to 100, you can step by 5s, and it'll easily, kind of lock step to those points. Reset we saw. Search is one we haven't looked at, but another good one to know that is available. Telephone type, okay, that's good. Just a time by itself. URL, okay, so that has a built-in validation for it. So those are some of the different input types. Definitely, you'll use those a lot in your career going forward. One other element I wanted to look at before we wrap this video up is the text area element, okay? So let's say over on our sign-up form, we want somebody to be able to put in a little bio if they want, okay? So what we can do here is we can say label for bio, okay? And we can just say, tell us about yourself. All right, and now we don't do input here, we do text area, okay? And now we need to set the ID to bio so that our label matches to this text area. Name can be bio as well. You can also set how big the text area is via the rows and columns attributes, okay? So we can say rows equals, I don't know, let's say 10, and columns is actually just cols. Let's say cols equals, I don't know, let's say 40 to start with, okay? And then we can close that off. Let's save this, or actually let's add a line break again here. Alright, now we can save that. Let's go back to our form here and let's look and see. So now you can see someone can come in this text area here and type a bio out if they want. Let's fill this out and see what it looks like when the form gets submitted. Okay, and now let's look here, and now we see that bio comes through right here. Okay, just like the other bits of data in our form. The last thing I want to look at here is the placeholder attribute available to inputs. Okay, now text area has this too, but let's look at this for example. Let's apply a placeholder to our email field. Okay, so what we can do is we can find our email input. Okay, so right here we can come at the end and say placeholder equals, and then what we can do is we can set an example email address so that people know what form we kind of expect this to be in. So we can just say person@earth.com for example. Okay, now if we save that and we refresh our form here, now you can see we have that placeholder text showing up here. So now we can provide some insight to the person filling out this field as to what format the information that they supply here needs to be within. Alright, so one more thing. I know I said that a minute ago that last bit was going to be the last thing for this video, but I did want to just cover a couple more things here real quick. So this section here where we ask the person to select the zodiac sign, or actually we don't even ask them or instruct them to, we just show some signs. And we assume that they know to check one of these. We can do better than this though. So we can actually group these controls into a section within this form using the field set element. Okay, so let's write it in first and then we can go look at it, the documentation for it. So here's the section of all our inputs here. Okay, so what we can do is we can say field set. Okay, we'll close that off. Let's get our closing tag here. Oops, I meant to cut it out of here, not copy it. Let's cut it out of here, and we'll come at the end of this label here, and then let's get everything indented properly. So we'll grab all of this stuff, tab it over, and then the other thing so the field set element will wrap the input elements and the label elements for the given inputs. In this case, the radio elements that we're using are the radio inputs. The other thing we need here is a legend element. Okay, so we can say legend, and now here's where we can write the text to help instruct the user what we want them to do. So we can say something like select your zodiac sign. Okay, we save that and we go back to our page and we refresh. Okay, now we see that we now have this field set element wrapping the options here. Again, we only did 3 of them, so we didn't have to take the time and write everything out. It'd be a good practice exercise for you if you wanted to do that, getting familiar with radio element or radio type inputs. But you see here's the legend here displays right here inside this kind of little border section that wraps all of those choices here. So it's something we can do to clean that up and make that a bit clearer. The other thing too is that this looks a little bit funky right here. How we have this label for our text area and the text area itself all in line here, so we can clean that up too. We can come right here, we can add another BR element right here. So we'll save that. Let's go back to our browser, refresh the page here. And now, there we go, that looks a little bit better. Our form is looking pretty clean right now. Now, I know it's not the prettiest form out there, but the markup is pretty good on this thing, you know, especially grouping these controls here for these radio inputs. I think wrapping those in the field set element really makes a big difference here, I think. Now, we could probably do some other work to make this even better here. So right now we just have a body. We have all of this information just sitting inside of the body here. So we could wrap our H1 in a header element as we did in our previous page. Now remember, this isn't necessary, but it might be helpful later on for us, maybe for some styling purposes or what have you. But let's just go ahead and do it, just get some more practice with using these semantic tags. And then this form here is really the main content of our page here. So again, we can use our main element here. So let's go ahead and grab that closing main tag here. Go all the way down to right before that closing body tag. We'll paste in that main element. We'll tab it over, and then we can grab all of the elements that are nested inside of that main element, tab them over for proper indentation there. And now we have our page broken up into those nice sections. And if we go back and look at what we have here, if we refresh everything, it looks just the same. One final thing here before we wrap up too, these BR tags that we're using to make the form look, you know, in such a fashion stacked like this, I really am not a fan of that approach. Those not really what those BR tags are intended for. If we look at the BR element, there's accessibility concerns with it. If you're using it to break up things like paragraphs of text, you should be using paragraphs for that text. And really, you know, it's really for use inside of paragraphs if you're actually trying to break up words on certain lines. Like it says right here, for if you're writing a poem or an address where the lines are significant, okay? So really using those BR tags, I wanted to show them to you just so that you could see them and like that they work how they do. But really, this is not a good use of that. So before we wrap up, I want to go ahead and delete all of those. And what we'll do for now, we really should be using CSS for, you know, styling visually how the form works, not HTML elements. So one thing we could do right now is we could wrap everything in div tags here like this. So let's just do an example one. So we do that and we refresh our page here. We can see now if we open up our inspector here and we look at the first thing that we wrapped in a div, which is the username input and label fields or elements. A div is an element we haven't talked about yet, but it's kind of a generic container. Now this element is block level though, so that's why when we wrap these two things in a div tag and then the next element comes, it's on the next line because it's outside that div tag, and the div is a block level element, so it's going to take up the whole you know, width across the page there. So we could do that for now. Instead, I'm just going to actually revert back to our perhaps less attractive layout of our form here, and I'm going to delete all of these BR tags out of here so that we're not using those in an improper way, okay? So let's do that, and let's refresh our form here and look at it. And we've got quite the form on our hands here. But fear not, we are going to address this in the CSS section, and we'll really make this thing look a lot better over there. So bear with me for now. This, you know, it's just good to know, like, this is kind of the out-of-the-box layout of a form when you use just HTML, right? This is what you're going to end up with. All right, so that's another look at the various input types that we haven't covered in previous videos. So from here, we're going to look at an intro to how we can structure the data differently that kind of matches what you'll see a lot of times in Rails when you're submitting form data over. So with that, I will see you there.